I finally have the 2024 GMC Sierra 2500 AT4X and a Ford Super Duty Tremor. Now, if you don't know, the Platinum is really the only trim level that competes with the AT4X HD because of all the features that it comes with. So Larry H. Miller Super Ford here in Salt Lake City provided this truck. Let's go ahead and go over the window sticker for both. This is mine if you don't know. I will show you the pricing and then we'll show you guys all the features that both trucks have. Up first is the Sierra AT4X, and you guys can see some of the standard equipment on this truck here. So pretty much everything comes standard. This one does have an E-locker out back and 12-speaker Bose sound system, and then this truck does have 16-way seats. As far as the base price goes, it's $82,800. And here are all the options. So Duramax, fifth wheel prep, a few other things here. Destination comes in at $1995 with a total price of $95,720. Here is the Tremor. You guys can see all the standard equipment. This truck's gonna have a 14-speaker B&O sound system, and here are all the options. So this truck is pretty decked out. So it has like a winch already installed, or it's gonna be installed at the dealership. And the Tremor package is right here at $4,375. The high output is $12,495. Destination is $1995. And surprisingly, this truck does have a lower starting price too, at $78,915. But with all the options, this truck is $105,525. Originally, I wanted to get a AT4X AEV edition in, but it sold before this truck got here. So unfortunately, we have to use mine. Now, let's start off with the Ford Tremor. The Platinum is basically the highest level you can get with the Tremor package, right? And when you get the Platinum, they give you the upgraded headlights. So you have the projector style headlights, and they give you like this satin on the grille, forward facing camera, painted bumpers. You have the chrome recovery hooks, and these are basically like that satin color too. But I do like what Ford has done. Even this trim piece down below is finished in that same satin, and they do make your valance a lot smaller, that plastic trim piece there, which gives it that really aggressive styling, and it gives it better ground clearance and approach angle, right? But when you think about the AT4X, they give you the black bumpers, and I think that gives it that more off-road look. Also red recovery hooks, and they give you this bronze color when you go with the X, because they have the regular AT4 as well. Forward facing camera, and you do have a functional hood scoop when you get the diesel. Both trucks have LED headlights and fog lights down below, parking sensors obviously, and when you look at the front end, they do remove the valance on the GMC too to give you better ground clearance. But I don't know. I don't want to be biased. This is obviously my truck, so you guys have to decide which one you like better. Obviously, I think I like my GMC better, but I think Ford can do a few things to make this truck just a little bit more edgy. Kind of like adding some off-road bumpers, because as you guys saw in the window sticker, you get a winch from the factory. Now notice it's not already installed, simply because it's a dealer installed option. Now the fail for GM was, even with the AEV edition, that package is super expensive, and they did not allow that bumper to be already standard with a winch. I don't know why they did that. I thought that was the biggest fail for the AT4X personally. Now on my truck, obviously I don't really care because you can't even put a winch on the front of this bumper. But I think that Ford can definitely bring their A game for the next refresh and maybe give it an off-road bumper like the F350 Tremor is going to have for 2024. Now as far as the wheel and tire setup goes, both trucks have 18-inch wheels. Now you don't see the caps on because this truck has not been PDI'd yet, but I want to do this video really quickly before this truck sells, because this truck is obviously already spoken for. But these are the Goodyear Wrangler Durtrax, very aggressive knobby tires. The size on these tires is 285/75/18 right down here. And this is basically a 34.8-inch tall tire, and it's 11.2 inches wide. So when it's all said and done, this is not a wide tire, but it's pretty tall. It's actually slightly taller. It's like 0.02 inches taller than the GMCs. Let's take a look at those. So GMC has some meaty tires just like the Ford. These are going to be a 305/70/18. So these are basically 34.8 inches tall. but it's 12 inches wide, so it's a lot wider tire in comparison, and you can really see the difference with these tires when you see them side by side. You see that? You can clearly tell that the GMs are a little bit wider. Now, GM does give you fender flares with these marker lights here. Some people love them, some people hate them. I don't really care either way. I think that they look fine to me. Now, another advantage for most people is Ford does give you a solid front axle. GM gives you an independent front suspension. The other advantage that Ford has is it does have a limited slip diff on the front end, and most people would prefer that over the open diff you get with the GM. Now, as far as the shocks go, these are tuned for off-road. You can see they say Tremor on the side there. And wheel well, just really quickly, you guys can see it has like a plastic material for the wheel well. As far as the GMC goes, they do go a step above. They give this the Multimatic DSSV, which is dynamic suspension spool valve. This is that high-speed off-road suspension. So if you're going fast off-road on a really bumpy gravel road, basically, this is gonna perform a lot better, okay? Now, fabric material for the wheel wells, I just rinsed off my truck and I hit it with a power washer, and see how quickly and easy it is to clean it out without adding any type of like cleaning detergents. That's what I like about the fabric material. And when rocks hit it, it doesn't really make a lot of noise inside the interior versus the plastic or metal. Sometimes they don't even give you anything in the backs. But on the side of the truck, you can opt these to have the high clearance steps. They would come standard on the Platinum with the power deployable running boards that you see on the GMC. They do have perimeter lighting underneath, but I think the biggest advantage for the GMC is there's not a lot of chrome on this truck. On the front end of the Ford, you have this satin look, which looks nice, right? It looks nice, but you have chrome here, here, on the door handles, under the windows. So I think Ford should offer either a color match or a blackout for the Platinum. They do offer that on the F-150s, but they don't offer that for the Platinum Super Duties. Now, on the back here, you guys can see you do have the steps on the side of the bed. And I didn't mention, the GMC does have an 1.5 inch lift all the way around, and you get a little bit of lift from the tires. They do lift the front end of the Ford Super Duties by 2 inches, and the rear has a slight lift too. But looking side by side, you can clearly tell that the GMC sits a little bit higher in comparison with the Ford, just by a little bit. It's probably about a 1/2 inch or more, I would say. Here's more of that badging on the side there. I didn't show this to you either. And then this is basically on the Ford one more time. Out back, Ford does give you a decal on the side of the bed. GM does not. They just give you the AT4X badge there and on the side as you just saw. Now, I did debadge the Sierra one here, but pretty clean tailgate in comparison with the Ford. Ford does give you this applique. Now, it has grown on me. I did not like this when I first saw it, but I do think it looks better on lighter colors compared to like the dark blues, the blacks, things like that. Now, as I said, there is no blackout for this truck, so you're gonna have more chrome and satin finishes on these compared to the GMCs because you don't really get that. Now, I love the taillights for the GMC too. You have this blackout built in here, and these are exclusive for the AT4 and the X. As far as the Ford goes, they have impeccable design for their taillights. I love the way they look, full LED just like the GMs. And you guys saw the steps on the side of the bed and on the side of the bumpers, rear parking sensors, Class 5 receiving hitches for both trucks. Let's go ahead and show you guys the advantages for the Ford. When you drop down the tailgate, this is power. They give you this step. I'm not a huge fan of it. I would not call this an advantage because I would never use this, and I wish they would allow you to delete it. Now, they give you fifth wheel prep package. 2,000 watts of power comes standard with the Tremor, or actually, excuse me, with the Platinum. And some of your plugs for your fifth wheel prep package, 7-pin, and then you have a 12-way plug here for video. Bed lights can be turned on inside the bed. You have bed view camera. And here is the other advantage. You have a power lift gate, and you have sonar built on top of the tailgate with a backup camera right here. Those advantages are good for when you're hooking up to a fifth wheel, because if you forget to put your tailgate back down, well, you can still see behind you pretty easily. GM does have a unique tailgate. I like it better than the Fords. So this is the Multi-Pro. You hit these two buttons together and this drops down into a step. They also give you a kicker sound system, which is a nice feature to have. I've only used it a couple times, but fifth wheel prep package, the bed on the GMC is longer than the Fords, and they set the fifth wheel prep package slightly behind the axle, so you get better clearance if you are towing a gooseneck or fifth wheel trailer. You do have two camera views up there, but you don't have the ability to turn on the bed lights in the rear. I would like for them to add a button just like the Ford. You don't have the 2,000 watts of power, but you only have 400 in the GMC, so there's a lot of good advantages on that Ford. Now, as far as the powertrain goes, both trucks here only have two powertrain options. If you get a Ford Tremor, you only get either the 7.3 liter gas engine or the high output power stroke. That's just with the Tremor. Same thing goes with the GMC AT4X. You can get the gas 6.6 LAT or the L5P Duramax. Let's start off with the Ford. Ford clearly has more horsepower on the gas engine. 430 horsepower, 485 pound-feet of torque, 10-speed transmission. GM has 401 horsepower, 464 pound-feet of torque with the gas engine. As far as the diesel goes, which is the Duramax, it's going to have 470 horsepower compared to Ford's Power Stroke, which has 500 horsepower. And this truck has 1,200 pound-feet of torque compared to 975. Now, I've done videos in the past showing you guys sometimes the GMC will win because that's a lot of power to put down on the ground, and I do believe that there's torque management with it too when you're unloaded. With GMC, I feel as though if you get a 3500, you don't have any torque management, but this truck has 11.5-inch ring gear out back on the 2500s, and I do notice a little bit less power off the line in some cases. Let's talk about the interiors now. The platinum interior is truly my favorite on the Ford. They give you this suede material here. You have this caramel piping stitching all throughout the interior. Some wood trim pieces right there. The seats are probably the softest in the segment. So most people would prefer those softer seats or probably jump for the Ford. And more of that caramel, and they have that in the suede in these little inserts here. Tilt headrest. Let's go ahead and check out the GMC. GM has more of a sportier interior, and that's what I like about the AT4X. It only comes one way. So with the interior, this is the only interior color you can get. So red stitching, white piping all throughout the interior. And they give you this like leather wrap inside this area too, which breaks up all this hard plastic. Down below on the Ford, it's all hard plastic. The speaker grill looks nice, just like the Ford. And the controls are pretty much the same. Ford does give you 3 seat memories compared to 2 on the GMC. Now, as far as the seats go, I'm gonna go ahead and call it out. The seats are bigger in the Ford, and they're definitely softer, as I said. I actually don't mind a stiffer seat personally. I feel like I can get more comfortable. Now, with the GMC, you do have massagers on the top here. You could change the bowstring, and there's a shoulder support up here that you can adjust to. Let's go back to the Ford really quickly. Do you see how much bigger the seats are? You have massage function for the top and bottom. You don't get that massage function on the bottom on the GMC, but you don't have the bowstring adjustments on these seats either. However, you do get power steering column and pedals for the Ford. I do like how GMC does wrap your grab handles in comparison with the Fords. It just dresses up the interior a little bit better. Also, on the Ford, you do not have a suede roof, and they don't wrap these in a soft material either, so all this is just hard plastic compared to the suede roof for the GMC. And like I said, it just really dresses up the interior. You see those leather wrapped grab handles. And let's go ahead and go through some of the advantages on the Ford. I think that when you consider the redesign on this truck, they've done a better job with the heads-up display, in my opinion. I feel as though you just have better information. Like, they give you the time, the outside temperature. You can't get that stuff on the GMC. Also, This is a big thing I want to talk about this year for GM trucks. They really have to add this quickly. The gauges, this is my favorite thing on the Ford. So they give you all your temperatures for engine coolant, transmission, and engine oil. But they don't stop there. They also give you diesel measurements, so turbo boost, engine brake, exhaust filter. The only thing that the GMC gives you is a transmission temperature with an actual readout like this. And this is just a huge advantage. As far as all this goes, it's a toss-up for the center console. You have wireless charger on both sides. You have two USBs here. Those are type C and type A to the right. And this one actually has the option to have this lockbox, but GM can have this too. But you have two USBs inside this area. And on the roof, your auxiliary switches, you don't get these with the GMC, right? So I feel as though when it really comes down to it, this truck is more well equipped. Out back, you guys have that locker, and then this does have trail turn assist. You do not have trail turn assist with the GMC. When it comes down to overall layout, GMC is the clear winner here. I love the way that they laid out this interior for 2024. This screen is a lot easier to learn. Their camera system is way better because they give you this menu down below. It's just so much easier to learn. If you want to turn off your bird's eye view, it's just a button right here. You click it, done. With the bird's eye view for the front and rear, you have that. For your tires, back, front, and bed view cameras right here. It's just easier to use. You can zoom in if you like to check on your cargo or to hook up to your trailer. I think that theirs is better. You can relocate things inside of here. You can take things out of this menu. This is your docking station, and you can put things back over there. You can change it up. GM's is way better. I still don't feel comfortable using the Fords. It's just a little bit more cumbersome in my opinion. And I like where they've added the wireless charger for the phone. It's just easier and more quickly accessible unless you keep that cover open. But again, the overall layout in this truck is nicer. The interior feels a lot more at home. And yeah, I think that the GMC has a better layout. And keep in mind, GM trucks come standard with a sunroof. Even though the roof is optional on the Ford, they give you a twin panel moonroof. That's a big advantage for me, especially when you're looking at the mountains too. Now, here's the camera system for the Ford. I'm just gonna call them out. I hate theirs. So they have this menu here that drops down, and when you click, let's just say you click the wrong thing, right? And you wanna go back in here and click something else. Well, it goes away, and now you have to go back and try to click what you want. The cameras aren't as clear as the GM's either. I think that theirs just looks a little bit nicer personally. But when it's all said and done, the GMC does have a 4K camera here. Ford does not. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you guys saw the camera above the bed. There's two, one for the bed view, one for this. So this is a 4K camera. And I like that they give this to you because if your wife drives your truck or someone else drives your truck, you don't have to continuously adjust the mirror because this stays here. This is adjustable for the brightness. You can zoom in, you can go up and down. So it's fully customizable, and I like theirs better. Now out back, let's face it, GM does have the better rear seat because this floor does sit slightly lower compared to the Fords, and they give you this storage for the seat backs that you don't get on the Ford. So here it is. The seat does sit lower, so the floor sits higher, so it's less comfort in my opinion. But here's where Ford wins. They give you a power plug in the front and rear. GM just gives you one in the front, and they give you 12 volts here and then that 120 volt. I love that they do that. They both have outboard heated seats, seat back pockets, but you don't have that storage in the back seats here. But you do have this collapsible storage, and I do like this about the Ford is it is collapsible, so if you don't need it, it can go away basically, right? But here's where the Ford just absolutely cleans up. You can only get the AT4X HD and a 2500. That was a major fail on GMC's part, really on GM's part, because the Chevys are the same way. With Ford, you can get the F350, F250, and Ford's having the aluminum bodies allows for them to have more payload. So here are the numbers on the door. So you have a front gross axle rating at 5,600 pounds. The rear is 7,050 pounds, and then gross vehicle weight rating is gonna be 12,000. All-in payload is 3,678 pounds, and that's kind of low because this truck has all the options. Spray and bed liner, it has the fifth wheel prep package, the big twin panel sunroof, and the winch is probably factored into that number. GM does match the ratings up front on the axles at 5,600 pounds, but the rear is only 6,600 pounds, right? Gross vehicle weight rating is 11,350, and this truck has a payload of 2,854 pounds. That's what it says right here. As far as the towing capacity goes, Ford wins. But I feel as though GM failed miserably not adding this to the 3500s. I hope that they do a AT4X in the future on the 1-tons. They don't even have to add the Multimatic DSSV. They could just make it a trim package, maybe still give it the lift. But if I had to do it all over again, I think I would still get the AT4X. I knew my wife wanted a smaller RV anyways, so I'm okay with the 2500 now. I do like the Ford Tremor though. There's no denying this is probably the best truck on the market today, especially if you need payload. And I feel like the only thing is missing is just either color match or blackout. That's it. The Platinum has one of the best interiors, and I forgot to mention too, you have 2 interior options with this Ford Platinum Tremor compared to just the one on the GMC, so that is an advantage. So the Ford had a lot of advantages, so definitely Ford won today, but I still think the AT4X is the more hardcore truck in terms of how it looks.